Okay, so in this video, I went in between the last video and this video. I went in and properly rigged him, and I took my time, and there's just no way I can do that in a 15-minute video. And I just want to show you what I did. I want to give an overview of this because once I got this set up correctly, I didn't have any issues. I didn't have to make any adjustments to any of the envelopes on the bones. And so let me give you a tour of what I did so you can see it set up properly. And then I'm going to show you how to create a cycle. We're going to create a little walk cycle for him. I'm going to show you how to do that, either in this video or the subsequent one. All right, so here's the top view. You can see the top view, front view. I created this two bones here. I created the body bone that is going to be the main bone. Everything else is going to link to that, okay? And I started down here, and I clicked up to about the neck, and then I created the skull. And then once I did that, I went in and let me turn off the skin here. Whoops, got moved a little bit there. Free selection. Okay, so I created this bone, and then I created this bone, and then I went in and I edited them so that they fit better inside my character. And I started from the bottom up because I wanted this to be the fixed bone, and I wanted this to be the one that moves. Now I've gone ahead and skinned it too to get it where it needed to be, but I will show you. Yeah, let's see. It's going to let me do it because yeah, there you go. So you see, I'm doing it way too much. But you see how I can now make these movements with his head? Look, how cool is that? Sorry. Get a little carried away. So now that I've made that bone fit inside his head, and it's the second one, right? So I clicked down, clicked here, and then clicked here, and then I deleted that little spur on the top. I can now move his head around, as you saw. Arms. I then created those, and you can see I don't have any weird anything going on. This is exactly the way I created it, and here's why. I spent the time, I zoomed in here really closely, and I spent the time setting it up and I looked in each one of my views. Here's my arm in the side view, in the top view, and the front view, and I spent my time adjusting the width, the height, the taper, and the fins so that this fit better. I started at his, I don't want to say shoulder, but where his body joins to his arm. I started there, and I clicked this way, and then right clicked, and then deleted the spur, and then I modified this until it fit very perfectly at the joint where I want it to move. So this is the pivot point, and I've made sure that the pivot point wasn't in here. If I started in here and went this way, that's when you're going to see more issues with your envelope. The more precise you are in initially laying out your bones and in creating and setting them up, the less time you're going to have to spend working with those envelopes. So because I put the bone right here's this, right, and then I extruded that out, because I started the bone here for his arm and went out this way and got it so that it wasn't overlapping with his body, the envelope isn't creating any issues. So that now when I test him, I'm not having any weird things going on with my body because the envelope is not conflicting with the body. Okay? And then the same thing with the feet. I did the exact same thing. I took time, spent my time making sure I got the leg bones properly aligned so that now when I move them, his body's deforming a little bit, but it should. Right? It's not doing any weird, he's not getting any weird growths or indentations in his abdomen when I move his leg. Okay. Let's see. And then I linked everything together, as we discussed. I linked all these bones. I linked them to this bone here so that now when I move this bone, he as a whole character moves and everything with him. And you see, what did I forget? I forgot his eyes. So I need to link his eyes, and you want to link the eyes to the head. Okay, so that should be linked to the head bone, skull. Okay, so that when you move the head, the eyes move with the skull, just like they do in your head. If you really look at human anatomy, you'll see that your eyes sit in sockets in your skull, and when you whichever way your skull gets moved, that's where your eyes are going. And then let's just show you. I linked the balloon to the string and the string to the bone, so that when I move this arm, the balloon goes with it. And obviously it's not really good with the string being stiff like that. It's more like a balloon on a stick. But as I talked about previously, if I wanted to, I could literally go in here and create a spine that allowed this to move a little more fluidly. That would be a lot more work. We're not going to do that for this level. I don't expect you guys to do anything that level yet. Okay. All right, so that took me longer than a 15-minute video to set up. I did show you the steps in the previous video, but it was kind of rushed, so I was getting a lot of issues with it. But for this one, I went in, I took my time and made sure everything was set up. Then, unfreeze all. And then I skinned my biped. And just remember, if you accidentally get this out of stack, you can drag it, but it needs to be right next to your editable poly for it to work properly. And then I added in my bones. So there's all my bones that I created. Added into my guy, and then I tested him. And as you saw, I showed you, a little bit of the testing on how he would move. Once we have him set up, we can then create cycles for him to move, and all we really have to do is animate it once. Now, there are people who like to work with helpers to kind of think about it this way. You know how you have a puppet and it's got strings and it attaches at the top to a control that controls the arms and legs? The puppeteer doesn't have their hand in there moving the character. They have this gizmo at the top. There are a lot of animators, riggers, that like to work with those controls. I'm personally not one of them. I just never really, I don't know, I always found it awkward. But you can do that. And I'm going to link to an expert who's good at that in Blackboard to show you guys, because you really don't want me to teach you how to do this, because I just don't do it. I don't like it. I never got it to where it worked well for me. But under helpers, you're going to see that you have standard, dummies, and then some of these other, some people like to use points, arrow helpers, different types of controls that you put other places, and you move those instead of the bones themselves. And I can make the argument for why that's a better way to animate. I just don't like it. However, I'm gonna make sure you guys have the material and the information you need to be good at this, and I'm gonna provide that information, a link to that information in Blackboard to show you how to properly do that. What I'm gonna do next, and we're gonna have to do this in the next video because I think I'm not gonna have enough time to do it in this video. I'm gonna show you in the next video how to create a walk cycle and then copy it, or actually how to create one walk cycle and then copy it so that it creates a longer walk cycle, very similar to what we did with the biped. We don't have the ability to make him do all the stuff that we had the biped do. So I'm going to show you how to animate your character and then repeat it so that you get a walk cycle. and now he looks like he's moving. And any character that you have previously in another class put on a path, he'll still stay on the path, but now you can animate his legs, his feet, and maybe his arms and his head any way you want to now do more than just move your character on a path. You can now begin to animate a walk cycle, or character looking around, or other movements to your characters with the animations that you've already created previously. And that's why in this class I had you guys use what you modeled from 2405 so that it would be easier to just focus on the rigging without having to deal with modeling. And from this point forward, for this course, don't model anything because you just don't have time. Focus on getting the movements of your characters correct. Okay? All right, so we'll continue in the next video.